Welcome to Monday through Friday, Cellular Agriculture for a Pandemic-Free Future. My name is George Ortega. This is episode number 52. I'm recording it on Wednesday, September 16th, 2020 at 9:20 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm going to follow up on yesterday's episode of just transitioning to a new series. I think one thing that's become abundantly clear over the last 51 episodes is that this is most fundamentally a moral issue. It's a moral issue when you consider the recklessness of this factory farm system that, epidemiologists conclude from that it's not a matter of when, but if another pandemic is going to strike. And this pandemic was clearly a result of farming animals, and it's also a moral issue in the sense that from a theological sense that it's just so wrong to mistreat so many animals, and to the extent that we are judged, if we don't address the morality, not just of this but other issues like climate change, which are related actually, we can't solve the problem. It's not like we lack the resources, like we lack the money and the science, the technology, the organization. We have all this, but if we're lacking the will because we lack the morality, then we're disempowered. We don't have the ability to do what we can do to protect ourselves. So. All right, so in terms of the title, I think I'm going to go with God, Science, and COVID-19, starting with God to kind of reflect the idea that this is coming from God. This is punishment, and as I've said in other episodes, it's not just punishment. It's like we need to understand that punishment has a positive benefit to it, intent. Just as parents punish their children to teach them right from wrong and to enhance and improve their lives going forward, so God is seemingly using this pandemic to awaken our conscience, because, if we think this pandemic is disruptive to our lives, climate change is 10 times more disruptive. Like these wildfires in California, Washington. Finally, the media is rightfully connecting them with the hotter climate that is the result of global warming, climate change, and emphasizing that this is not just happening in the United States, this is happening throughout the world. So we can take an optimistic view that however difficult this is, it does have, it's a blessing in disguise, in a sense. Or I think that some people might see it more as a cloud with a silver lining, but I think it's more than that, because again, if we didn't have this pandemic, who knows if we'd wake up to the effects of climate change and start doing the right thing. I think this is finally going to change the political dynamics. It's kind of like a new world order. It's so yeah, we're starting. It starts with God, because, and again, I hold the perspective that that, you know, this is God's world, um, and it's really God who is doing this, you know, both compelling us to develop this factory farm system, the system of farming, and then compelling the virus outbreak to turn into an epidemic, then a pandemic. And, you know, just the idea that, you know, God is omnipotent, God is all powerful, that nothing happens unless God decrees it. And some people will say allow, but if God is all powerful, it's not just a matter of allowing, it's a matter of compelling it. And that distinction, it's not insignificant here. It's not inconsequential, because, like, I've talked about this before, to the extent that people witness this era, this time, and get it that you know, that it's happening because of our cruelty. You know, it's hard for people to face this horrific cruelty. You know, just paying people to abuse and torture animals, 70 billion of them, without feeling strong pangs of guilt that for many people, they're too difficult to deal with, so they just turn away. I mean, this happens. Sometimes people see images of starving children on television, and, well, that's a bit different. That just makes them feel bad, makes them feel sad for what's going on. But with this, you know, if one believes that what we do is up to us, that we have a free will, then that could be preventing us from objectively facing, seeing what we're doing. And naturally, so, like, you know, God, the science is that it's, you know, just leave aside the morality component, leave aside the this idea that this is punishment, you know, for our good, but, you know, just look at it objectively according to the science. And, like, it's you know, we maintain this factory farm system. Pandemics will happen, and as I've shown in this table, that, you know, they're happening so much more frequently than they did in both past decades, but especially in past centuries and over the last couple of millennium. I mean, the number of pandemics, you know, I think the last decade we had epidemics. We had about 40, which was, I think, 42, which was two epidemics more than we had in the entire last century, the 1900s. So the science part of it, and the other part of the science is that we need to understand that science is providing us a solution, you know, with cellular agriculture. Unless, you know, I mean, who knows? Maybe we will experience such a moral reformation that we will become vegan. The entire world becomes vegan. I don't tend to be that optimistic, especially when there seems to be an answer that is much easier. And I guess knowing the world as I do, it's like our leaders, you know, we in general aren't usually up for such dramatic transformations, you know, all becoming vegan. But that's just not necessary. I mean, like, we've got this technology. Then, you know, again, I can't I can't believe it's just this major coincidence that this new industry is birthed 7 years before this pandemic. You know, to me, it's not just simply coincidental. To me, you know, it seems to suggest a plan. You know, like, God was intending to have this happen, so God gave us this opening, this way out. So, and, you know, naturally, this, you know, this is about COVID-19, but it's, you know, the series will be to a great extent about preventing future pandemics. And, we'll actually, I guess, get into this sobering consideration that, we may be wearing masks for another year. We may be, society may be closed for another 2-3 years. I mean, that's, I think in some countries, Canada, I was watching a video earlier today, I don't know, health minister of Canada or something. And Canada's been much more responsible than we in the United States. And they're preparing for what they consider as an inevitable second wave. Now, we're not in it, here in the United States, we've been so bad, under such horrible leadership by Trump that we're still in our first wave, and I've heard people say that we're not even halfway through this first wave. So, like the vaccines are probably not going to be available until after the new year. And then it's the question of, a lot of people refuse to take them. This series is going to just explore all that, explore what we have to look forward to over these next months and years, and try to motivate us to face what's happening, to face the reality that just as somebody who's drank all their lives and now their liver is affected, needs to reform, needs to stop drinking, needs to become a more responsible person, we collectively as a global population need to dig into ourselves and face our cruelty, our callousness, our indifference, our recklessness, irresponsibility toward our children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren. That is the only answer. Because again, like the focus of this series will be that that morality, framed within God theologically, but also secular morality just explains it just as well, that this is a moral issue. It's not, it's not a science. It's not like we don't, again, I said it's not like we lack the science. So, and so what we'll be doing is exploring, again, this is going to be a much harder show, because how do you make sense of people being so cruel? People have been given so much like we have. And again, if you believe in free will, you're probably feeling really threatened by that indictment, which is unfortunate, because you're born into this world, and you kind of like, you're conditioned. You're conditioned to trust authorities, to trust your parents, and trust the doctors, the medical establishment, who's been silent about this pretty much, and our political leaders. You basically have been conditioned and taught to consider, well, how could it be wrong? Because if it was wrong, then people would be saying it was wrong. So, but yeah, it's going to be challenging to figure that out, and perhaps even more challenging to figure out how to turn it around. I referred to abolition, the ending of slavery, how in the I think it might have been the early 1800s, it might have been the late 1700s, but a group of Quakers in Pennsylvania, they launched the movement. They were the first here in America to really collectively not just appreciate the horribleness, the injustice of slavery, but to understand that it needed to end. And I haven't looked into the abolitionist movement so deeply, and perhaps I should, to try to learn what their message was. How did they succeed after so many decades when just nobody cared, and getting people to care, because that's what we need to do. That's what I need to do. That's what we collectively need to do to deserve, not just being free from future pandemics, but overcoming this one, containing this enough to get back to our ordinary lives. And then God may not, it may not be a matter of future pandemics. God may not allow us to emerge from this pandemic unless we reach these moral conclusions and moral resolutions and change our behavior. It's plausible. It's easily plausible that that would be God's intention. Naturally, we will get we'll get into the how these things happen. But the moralities, and it is going to be hard because I guess I'm going to have to do a lot of preparation, just make some outlines, different aspects of morality, because, like, for example, there's something known as the bystander effect in psychology, where, let's say, you see something happening to someone that's wrong, an injustice, and sometimes when we see that, we conclude, oh, somebody else will call the police, somebody else will come to their aid, somebody else will take care of it. And especially when there's something that's publicized in the media that people know about, that we just assume, oh yeah, our experts are on top of it, when as we're seeing in this, and perhaps more often than not, that's not the case, that everybody ignores it. And what's that saying, that all it takes for evil to prevail is for good men to stand by and do nothing, something like that. So that's clearly one dimension. There are others. There's an insatiable greed fueled from an equally egregious selfishness, that it doesn't matter how much we have. Here in the United States, it seems like the more we have, the more callous we become toward those, and when I'm saying those, I'm including animals now, who are victims of our selfishness and greed. This is a moral reckoning. And I mean, I used to smile when hearing fundamentalist Christians, for example, talk about the end times. But I mean, think about what's happening. I don't have they believe, I can't, they believe that, a few of them who believe in Jesus are going up to heaven, and everybody else is going to hell for an eternity, And I think that aspect of the belief is bizarre. But in terms of our world, coming to this place of choice, I think in the Bible there's a line of I've set before you life or death, choose life. I mean, it's remember 2016. Remember this vile, ugly, horrible person, Trump, winning the election, which basically reminds us that Hillary when she said that half of Trump's supporters are deplorable. Now, all of them are deplorable. You don't elect a person like that. So, that on top of this COVID-19, on top of the wildfires, on top of that, we've had more hurricanes this season than, we're halfway through hurricane season, and we're going to be running out of letters to name them. We're already up to S, Sally. So something, and, of course, climate change, that's the big one. So, it's like God is saying, hey, enough. We do this, when people have kids, who are supervising kids, teachers, whatever, they will tolerate, bad behavior for a certain amount of time. But then after a while, it gets to the point where, the, there has to be repercussions, there has to be consequences. And so we're in an era like this. And again, I believe that that because these circumstances are so dire, because we are, and we there's still so much to go. I mean, there are all the people who've lost their jobs. People talk about a market crash that's coming because, like, investors are not investing now based on data. They're investing, I don't know, on hope, I guess. I don't know what they're investing on. But the circumstances we're facing, not just now, but over the next couple of years, are going to be so threatening that I would, if I was going to bet on this, I would say yes, we're going to get this right, because the consequences of getting it wrong are unacceptable. I've been going into stores recently. And they're running out of stuff. If you go into Target, much less merchandise on the shelves. Same with the convenience stores. And I don't know, I guess that's, a lot of supply chains have been disrupted, manufacturing's been disrupted, but they talk about, coming into a time of inflation where everything is going to cost more. And, with the Trump war, with the trade war that Trump started with China, that's just making things worse. I mean, this is like a coming together of a lot of factors that that are not, boding well for our future, unless we start to correct a lot of these wrongs. So, all right, so in terms of the first episode, I may do another episode of this series tomorrow, maybe finish it off on episode 53, and then, like, on Sunday, tape Monday's episode as the new series. I'm still waiting for the station manager to get back to me approving the change, and I think it's a formality. I don't think there's a reason why he would say no, but so we will start the new series, and it's going to be a lot harder for me because, like, with the cellular agriculture for a pandemic-free future, there was a lot more material to go into. Whereas, like, if I'm just going to focus on God, the morality, I guess I'll have to focus on the science somewhat. A lot of this new series is going to be trying to figure out what hasn't been figured out yet, because like with the Black Lives Matter movement, with the Me Too hashtag thing. I mean, just there's a lot wrong with the world, a lot that shouldn't be happening, that is happening, and we don't yet have answers. And I don't know if I will come up with answers that change things much, but that's the attempt. I mean, that's the hope, that as we talk about it, and for me, like, I don't know how many people watch this, but for me, these episodes are kind of like prayers. My understanding is God is like, I'm basically manifesting God's will, God's words, but from another perspective, God is listening. And so that it's just my personal attempt to try to figure out how to motivate people to stop being so cruel and selfish and greedy and indifferent. And the science, again, the God, science, and COVID-19 will be the title. The science is also going to, like, we have to deal with this free will thing. But the arrogance of people like, Newton, Darwin, Freud, Einstein, these are brilliant, brilliant men. I mean, you're not in their league, I'm sorry. And to believe that you're right, that about our having a free will, when they're, when these guys are saying that we don't. And it's not just that. I mean, think about it. Put it to the test. If you have a free will, why aren't you as happy as you would like to be? Why aren't you as virtuous as you'd like to be? Just, can you apply this to everyone? I mean, like, it's kind of like part of this pandemic has to do with our egos, or inflated egos. It feels like, yeah, we can do whatever we want. And so this is kind of like humbling. It's humbling also to understand that we don't have a free will, that things aren't up to us, but it's humbling in a positive sense. It just, so many of us really are driven by ego. Oh yeah, I deserve this. I deserve so much because I work so hard, because I've done so much and all. No, come on, you're lucky, you're fortunate. We all are for whatever blessings we receive. And so by understanding that we don't have a free will, that these giants in science were right, notwithstanding people's arrogance today. And people talk about Republicans denying science. Anybody who believes in free will is denying science and denying scientific authority. We say, oh yeah, we should believe the epidemiologists, the infectious disease experts that tell us that we should be distancing and wearing masks and all this. But we're not supposed to believe our top 4 scientific minds that tell us that we don't have, that things aren't up to us, and such an important and necessary kind of consideration if we're going to face this squarely. All right, I'm out of time. So catch this every Monday through, maybe, I guess catch this tomorrow night on channel 76 Optimum 45 Verizon at 5 p.m. And, so like hopefully I'll start, recording the first episode of the next show on Sunday. And I don't know, what to expect from it. I don't know if I'll come up with answers or whatever. It might be a short series. I don't know, but it's worth a try. All right. So take care, and I will see you tomorrow, God willing. Thanks.